What's up, guys? Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Glory Boys podcast. We are so glad that you are here.
Yeah, and in today's episode, we are talking about where to start when filling your cart.
Let's roll that intro. So this is a really fun, exciting episode. We love talking about gear and the gear that we have and why we bought it and all the reasons. But before we start, how are you doing, Austin?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
I watched Good Burger this week again for the first time in a long time.
Dude, that movie is so good.
It's so good.
I love it. It's amazing. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I had that movie on VHS as a kid, and the cassette itself was orange.
Nice.
Do you remember what VHS tapes looked like?
I do, vaguely.
Yeah, it's a blur. But man, what a great movie.
Such a good movie. So where to start when filling your cart? It's kind of
Yeah.
a cheesy name.
I love it.
I just thought of it as we were drafting out podcast topics, and I know it's super corny, but we wanted to make this episode really because we get a lot of questions on social media, people asking what gear they should buy. You know, they'll say, hey, I have a camera. What should I get next?
Yep.
And so we just wanted to walk you through the process of us when we first started, what gear we had, and what we picked up along the way to what we have now, and really just kind of give you guys the reason behind why we bought things in the order that we did.
Yeah.
Because there is an order, and there's things that are important to get right away. There's things that are important to get, but they're not urgent. And there's things that are urgent and important. And so knowing the difference between the two is helpful. And if you don't know us, I feel like it's important to fill you in on the dynamic between the two of us. I'm the gear guy. I'm usually the guy that is trying to buy something always.
It's true.
Even when
He is.
it's not smart. And so it's a good balance, because I'll usually be like, hey, Darren, look at this new thing, or hey, shiny new thing that came out. Look at this, you know? And Darren will be the guy that's like, okay, we don't need that right now. Talk some sense into me. And so it's good. It's healthy. So get you somebody that, if you're the spender, the person that likes to buy gear, get you somebody that will talk you out of it and help make those purchases make sense.
Yeah.
But part of that, I will say, I spend a ton of time researching products all the time.
Yeah.
Trying to stay on top of new things that are coming out. Make sure really that what we have is the best for what we do. And so I do feel like there's a place for that. So hopefully this can help you avoid some of those hours and hours of research, and can help you know where to start. So what do we start with? Glory Visuals is an inception.
I think we just start off straight up, just camera body.
Yeah.
Just straight up.
You need one of those.
Yeah, so it's super important. So what camera did we go with and why?
To start out, we had an A7S II.
Yep.
That I had previously personally brought it in. That kind of became our main camera for the business. And
we only had one, and then I later got one.
Yeah, and we actually bought an A7. We
Gosh.
when we went to buy a second camera, just make sure you read the descriptions, because we went on Craigslist to buy Darren an A7S.
We were noobs.
And we bought this A7S. We meet the guy. Where do we meet him at? Like a Village
Dairy
Inn or
Queen.
Dairy Queen or something.
Yeah.
And it was like $350, and we're like, holy cow, this is a really good deal.
Yeah.
And then he leaves, and I'm like setting up the camera, and I'm like, this feels really weird. I don't see the recording modes I'm used to. And we realized it was just an A7, and that was terrible, because that was
Lost
really
in
bad.
translation. Pay attention to the details when you're buying things offline.
So yeah, you need a camera body. And then secondly, obviously you need a lens.
Yeah.
We personally work with prime lenses, but whatever fits your budget the best, there's some great zoom options out there.
Yep.
And you definitely need a lens.
I think too, we can touch on quality of glass. We just really have enjoyed the Sigma Art line of lenses. It's really in the middle of the road as far as budget goes. It's not quite the G Master price, but it's not, low budget, not great quality glass. So we've chosen to live in that world for a little bit, and we just have a whole set, a 35, 50, and 85, and we very much love them and operate only exclusively with those lenses still to this day.
Yeah, and my personal recommendation would be, if you have to choose between a more expensive camera that you can only afford to get the kit lens with, or a cheaper camera that you can get a nice lens with, I would recommend that you get the cheaper camera, as long as it's not gonna be so bad, you know.
Yeah.
But if you're talking an A7 III versus an A7S III, if you can afford the A7 III and a nice lens, I would get the A7 III.
100%. That's great.
So a good lens, great place to start. You can get really cheap, like a 50 nifty 50. They're cheap. They're great. Start with that.
Yeah, it's great.
But even before we finished getting all the lenses that we wanted, we got cages.
Yeah.
We use Small Rig. We love Small Rig. They make awesome products. They're cheap. And so we would personally recommend getting a cage for your camera.
Yeah.
We use top handles on our camera, which we really like. It takes you from holding the camera like a photo camera to holding it like a video camera. And it's better that way. And then shortly after, we got monitors.
Yep.
Maybe even kind of in the middle there somewhere.
Sure.
If you're going to be shooting a lot of video, it's my personal opinion that a monitor is an absolute must.
It's huge.
You know, unless you're using a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera that has a really nice monitor built in.
Absolutely.
But even then, you know, you're working in bright daylight. And so get something that is daylight viewable, especially if you're doing weddings.
Yeah.
And so we chose...
Yeah, Small HD. We love their products. We've used them the entirety of our company. And I remember when we first started, you had owned a Small HD Focus 5 already.
Yep.
And I didn't have one. So I remember shooting second angle a lot for a few weddings with nothing, just punching in Super 35 and making sure things are crisp, which I think makes you more aware and it teaches you like discipline on always checking focus. But having that Small HD, I remember when we first got the second Focus 5 and it changed everything for me. It made me feel like a real filmmaker. Like, oh my gosh, I can punch in and I can check focus and I can check, you know, exposure temperatures and I can see things. Like it was a whole different world. And it's only 5-inch screen, you know, and it's not even super crazy bright, but it was a game changer.
It's color accurate. You can preview your LUTs on it, which is a huge deal.
Huge.
Highly would recommend getting yourself a good quality monitor. The Small HD Focus 5 is, I think, a perfect place to start. And I don't even know if they even sell it anymore,
which
I don't
is
think
really
unfortunate.
But the 7
the Focus 7's great. It's a little big, I think, for mirrorless cameras.
Sure.
But a monitor of some sort. There's probably some better options out there now for off-brand stuff.
Yep.
But get one that's daylight viewable, especially if you're shooting weddings.
Yeah.
And kind of a shallow side perk of that is that it makes you look like a filmmaker and not a photographer. Yeah. So whether that's shallow or not, I don't really care because it does help, you know, you look good, feel good. In addition to that, it impresses the client to some extent.
Have a nice little beefy rig with some cool stuff on it.
Yeah. So we tried to build out our handheld rigs so that not only is it functional, it makes it super easy to shoot video and run manual focus, which we only use manual focus.
What was that again?
Only use manual focus.
That's right.
we only use manual focus. We do not rely on autofocus.
Yeah.
And and you're not going to get asked as often to take photos of people at weddings. So that's just
hey, do you mind taking a picture of us, Cook? We're the video guys. Bye.
Yeah. So you don't get that as often when your camera actually looks like a video camera.
Totally.
So
no, that's
if you're
great.
in mirrorless, get a monitor for sure.
Yeah.
After that, I would go audio 100%.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you can walk into a room, you can find a window, and you can make it look decent typically without having any lights.
Yeah, totally.
You can't walk into a room and make it sound good without having a good microphone.
Yeah.
It's just impossible.
Yeah.
So get a microphone. We started with, we initially started and did our first commercial project on like an $18 like Mauno Amazon lavalier microphone that we plugged into a Zoom H1. And that's what we used and it works. And so like you don't have to have a super nice microphone, but get it off the camera. Whether that's even one of the Rode video mics, like a Rode Video Mic Pro, something like that. We just chose a lavalier because we think it's more professional. It sounds great. We use the Tascam DR10Ls. And so get a good microphone. Amazing. Next.
We've made our money back 100 times again, just knowing that they record great clean audio. They record dual audio tracks, one at a lower frequency, just in case if there were any clipping. So, I mean, we're always feeling safe when we use that. And so it was a huge deal. And B&H has done a lot of deals where you get two for $250 or I don't know.
Yeah, there's tons of deals.
Tons of deals.
As a filmmaker, do yourself a favor, sign up for Deal Zone.
Yes.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Yeah.
It's nice when what you're looking for shows up on Deal Zone.
Sure.
But it can be dangerous.
Yes.
So,
when you get a random link from Austin at 10 p.m. at night, hey man, there's like these 700-foot extension cords and they're only $300 and they look
for
really
24
sick.
hours only.
For 24 hours.
So we need them.
We should get them.
Yeah.
And I was like, bro, we don't need those.
Yeah, so that's why we're helping you guys decide. And all of this is from the point of view of a run and gun kind of one-man band filmmaker. And so the lavalier mics are great when you don't have a dedicated audio person.
Yeah.
You know, since then we've started to add shotgun mics and boom poles and kind of incorporate that. But we're going, you have nothing, you're doing this by yourself. What's the best gear to get? So get a lavalier mic. You can just hit record. You don't have to manage it, and you can get a very good product that way.
Totally.
From there, I don't know.
We could discuss just like accessories, like what are little extra pieces of the day that help the day move along smoother. So for me, I know like having a ton of extra batteries at all times is a huge blessing.
Yeah.
But you know, when you first start out, you have one battery with your camera. So you're like, okay, I'm good. I'll have like a full day's worth. But if you don't have a backup and you're not charging on the go, you don't have some in your bag, you know, that could be a stressor, a big stressor.
Yeah. So make sure like we have 14 batteries that we take to a wedding day. And we'll typically only use 10 to 12, but yeah, make sure you have plenty of batteries, not only for your camera, but for your microphone. We use rechargeable batteries for our lavalier mics. Always make sure they're charged, get a system for charging them, but make sure you have plenty of batteries, plenty of SD cards, obviously tripods and light stands. I don't really mention that stuff, but you know, you should have a good tripod. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. There's many very nice tripods out there that will get you by for years.
Yeah, for the last 2.5 years, my uncle gifted me a old Bogan like aluminum stand tripod, and honestly, like it was janky, but it got the job done and it worked really well. It was sturdy, and I know Bogan's like a super old brand, and I don't even know if they make things anymore, but I know it was a sturdy, solid tripod and lasted a long time. So you can find a fairly cheap tripod that will really last you forever. And just, yeah, that's a super crucial piece. And then I would say also finding a monopod is super nice to have just for that run and gun, grab your rig and kind of walk through the day, whether that's a commercial shoot or a wedding film. We typically are on monopods.
Yeah. And improvise too. If you don't have a tripod, find a stack of books or put it on a table, put your wallet under the lens. We've done that many, many times.
Yep. So yeah, you have your camera, you have your lens, you have your microphone, and really something that really will set you apart as a filmmaker is creating really amazing stable shots. And whether that you choose to go the gimbal route or some kind of stabilizer, we just have chosen, and it was I guess a quote unquote cheaper option at the time, was doing the Lang P4S. It's a very, very inexpensive piece of gear, full on, what was it made out of?
It's got a carbon fiber post, I think.
So it's a carbon fiber post with some weights, and you learn to balance that thing. And we've been able to achieve really, really cool shots. And I think it's such an important piece of gear.
Yeah.
Why we can do some of the cool things, like we'll, twist the gimbal, or we'll twist the stabilizer, or we'll flip it upside down to get a low shot to the ground. And some of that stuff, like on the dime, you can grab. And I think that really gives you an advantage and adds a big production value to your films.
Yeah.
I think the learning curve is pretty big on it. And so I would get it early on and really just spend time playing with it and watching YouTube videos of how to balance it and how to operate it, because I think that will really set you apart from the other filmmakers.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It definitely is a learning curve. But yeah, the Lang P4S is the one that we use. We bought it very early on. Yeah. And I think it's like $129 now on Amazon.
So cheap. Yeah.
So it's like super cheap, cheaper than any gimbal out there. It can hold quite a bit of weight, and we've done everything on it. Yeah. Traveled with it, put it in a suitcase. Yeah. It's broken now, but it still works fine.
Still works.
And it's just a workhorse. And that's part of why we got that over a gimbal, is like, we don't have to ever think about, is that going to work? When you're a run and gun one-man band, you already have enough to worry about. You have
Yeah.
enough. You have to worry about, does the microphone have batteries? Where am I going to plug in the light? Do I got to get my camera set up? Do I have SD cards? Are they formatted? Blah, blah, blah. You don't want to also be thinking about all of these things. And so is the gimbal battery going to die, or is it balanced properly? Stuff like that. And so that's what we use, is that kind of manual glide cam style of stabilizer. And that's a super, super cheap, but very, very impactful piece of gear that you can get.
Totally.
After that, you can kind of go better audio stuff. You could go lighting. I would probably invest in lighting at this point. And really what I would get if I could pick one light and have only that one light is I would get like an Aperture 300X. I think is a perfect light to go for if you just have enough for one light. It's a fairly expensive light, but that's going to give you the most, it's going to be super versatile. You can use it for everything that you do. And so we got the 120D. That was like the first really nice light that we bought. We got a softbox with it, and you can use that for all kinds of stuff, for using key light for interview. That will really get you a really long way.
Yeah, so lighting's super, super important, and we've learned that actually more so. We know more now today about why lighting's important, and I think if we were to go back, we would actually invest more into lighting. Walk us through what would be a good purchase. Like, hey, what's a good light, Austin?
Yeah. So for a first light, I think something that you can modify. So we had LED panels. We made them work, but they're really not the best for a key light. If you're looking to make someone look really good, you want a big source. And so we got the Aperture 120D Mark II, and we love it. It's awesome. And so if you can afford to go with something like the 300X that's bicolor, I would totally go for that.
Totally.
That was not out when we bought our 120D. But the advantage of that is you can use it in multiple lighting situations. You can change the color of it very easily. But get something that is a bright kind of monolight style it's a point source. So it's just a single light. It's not a panel. Is kind of where I would start, and something like the 120D. And there's cheaper options, but something that has a high CRI value, good color rendition index that will have accurate colors that won't look super weird and artificial, because that's a big problem with LEDs. And so invest in quality lights. You really don't need a ton of lights. We ran for a really long time with just the 120D and a light panel. And so what we'll do a lot of times is put a softbox on the 120D, then put a light panel kind of opposite them, and use that as more of a backlight. So lighting is super important. I would invest in a good key light. And that's a really great place to start, I think.
Love it. So before we go any further, you know what time it is.
Chug-a-lug time.
Chug-a-lug time. This Chug-a-lug break is brought to you by Tate Creative. Tate Creative is an Omaha-based creative design agency. They are so phenomenal that they actually designed this beautiful thing alongside an amazing brand guide. They are just so talented. Our friend Erin is the lead designer, and she is just stupid talented. So I tell her this all the time, and I tell everyone that I meet, but she literally is probably one of the best designers I've ever seen. And I love design. I design a little bit myself, and I'm absolutely blown away by her skill, her talent, her efficiency. So if you need anything, design needs, brand guides, you're starting a new company, you're starting a podcast, I would highly recommend you hiring Tate Creative.
Check them out at tatecreativeagency.com. Awesome.
All right, let's do this.
Chug-a-lug. Let's go. Drink more water.
Cheers.
Cheers. Make sure you stay hydrated, folks.
Drink more water. I win.
Just by a hair.
Hey, good job.
I feel so hydrated.
Wow. Whew, that was a good one.
Drink a lot of water today.
Hey, it's good for you.
That's true.
Stay hydrated, my friends.
Yes.
And stay thirsty, my friends.
What a great Chug-a-lug break. And now back into the episode.
Man, we have talked about all kinds of gear, all the gear that we own currently, all the stuff that's in our kit, and really what you should buy and the order you should buy it in. So where does all this gear live? Like, if I'm one guy and I got to carry all this gear on, how am I going to do that by myself?
I actually take a lot of pride in the fact that I feel like we really have built one of the most functional small kits of gear possible for doing what we do.
Yeah.
Which is small commercial stuff, wedding films. And so almost everything that we've talked about fits in 2 Pelican 1510s. So our drone, which we didn't really talk about a drone, but that's an extra thing.
Yeah.
You should get a drone if you have the money and want to.
Yeah.
Not a first priority, but Pelican 1510s fit our cameras, all of our lenses, our drones, 4 lavalier mics, our audio recorder, cables, batteries, SD cards. What else?
Top handles.
All obviously our cameras, lenses, like I said.
Lavaliers, you said?
Yep, all 4 of our lavaliers, and it all lives in 2 Pelican 1510s. We have foam. If you go like the Trek Pack or dividers route, you probably could even fit more stuff, but we like the foam. It protects our gear really well.
Yep.
It's custom. We can custom cut it out, and the lid organizers have been a huge deal for us.
Game changer.
Yeah. So
and they were hated on.
Yeah.
The comments on all the reviews we read, they're like, these are terrible. They break after 10 minutes. Like,
I don't know what those guys are doing.
They're amazing.
Yeah, they haven't broken on us.
Nothing.
I mean, we have had 0 issues with them. So the lid organizers are great, and we're able to really fit all that stuff in there. And then the only other thing we have to take with us is our tripods, light stands, and a light case, really.
So to fit all that stuff, we bought a little roller bag, and then actually we bought a little gear cart from Costco. I don't know what it was actually intended to be used for.
It's like a picnic cart.
It's a picnic.
You can take it to swim meets and put food in it.
You just like haul your kids around at a carnival. But it works and it's great. It folds up, throw it in the trunk, and really it's been awesome to throw our Pelicans in, our little extra things like soft boxes, light stands, whatever, all the accessories. So you can really do it by yourself with the help of some of this gear and some of these amazing purchases.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I hope that I hope this was helpful.
Yeah.
I hope this was valuable to somebody listening out there who's looking to get started and wondering what gear to purchase and in what order. That's how we did it. It's not saying that this is exactly how you should do it. Every budget is different.
Yeah.
Every situation is different.
Totally.
You're not going to be shooting the exact same things that we are. However, this is what's worked for us.
Yep. So if you have any questions at all, please comment below.
Yeah.
Make sure you let us know, hey, I have this and this. What should I get next? What would you suggest? We love helping people. We love helping new filmmakers. And really, that's why we started this podcast, is to help and inspire people.
That's right. And if you're on YouTube watching this right now, it'd mean a lot to us if you subscribe to our channel.
Yes.
Hit the bell. It'll notify you when we drop new videos.
Ding.
And make sure that you like this video. Again, comment. Let us know what you want to see in the future for content if you have questions. And if you're on podcasts, if you're listening to the audio version of this, make sure you download the podcast, share it with your friends. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave us a rating on the podcast. It super helps us out, and we really appreciate it.
Yes.
And until next time, we love you guys so much.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see you in the next episode, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.